It all began stage by stage, or unintentional step by step. I'd known Jean for about 4 months, and on the rare occasion when she'd agreed to come out with me, I'd catch her looking at the kind of little house she'd like to settle down in, or the small family saloon she'd like to own for weekend trips. So I decided to put pen to paper and work out just how much I was really worth. Taking into consideration my post office savings and current bank account, I could just about afford the deposit on a small semi-detached. With this in mind, I decided to take my courage in both hands and ask Jean to be my wife. I'll never forget her immediate reaction to my proposal of marriage. After this, she explained that certain things were very important to a girl, but providing I could buy the ring of her choice, she'd give my offer very serious consideration. I felt I was really getting somewhere, but all at once this chap arrived and Jean said I'd have to leave because he'd come to give her a piano lesson.
Hello, Derek.
Hello, Jean.
Well, goodbye then.
Bye, Fred.
I'll see myself out. Cheerio.
Bye, Fred.
I've often wondered how he managed to give her piano lessons when there was no piano in the house. That weekend, Jean took me to see the ring she'd selected. I tried to explain that I just couldn't afford that kind of money, but it made no difference. After she'd left me, I became extremely depressed. She wouldn't answer my letters, and the only mail I received contained either final demands or special offers. Telephone calls were equally ineffectual. That Sunday lunchtime, I decided to drown my sorrows in the time-honored manner, and I was lucky in finding a very good friend prepared to listen to the whole depressing story. But Joe wasn't just a sympathetic listener. He offered help in a more practical manner. Through the slight alcoholic haze, I looked at the address, an address that led me to an expert craftsman.
You give me a picture to copy and I'll make you a replica of the crown jewels. If the price is right.
Those words triggered off a three-phase plan. phase one. I maintained a long and rather arduous watch on the shop, but I eventually established that the manager left for lunch from 12:30 to 1:30, during which time one shop assistant remained on her own. Phase two was to make a note of the shop's telephone number and hand this to Joe with instructions to phone through at a particular time on an agreed day. Then, armed with my camera, I moved on to the final and most difficult phase of all. Joe phoned through spot on time, and all I had to do was to take as many pictures as possible before the ring was returned to its rightful place in the shop window. There was no difficulty in getting out of the shop without buying the ring. After all, most people would want to give at least a second thought prior to parting with £500. "48 hours after I developed the pictures, these were handed to the craftsman for his approval. Now it was just a question of leaving him to bring all his skill and expertise to bear. It was perfect. Only an expert could have told the difference. I was delighted, and it was obvious that counting money was the one thing that made the little craftsman smile. I lay in bed that night listening to the thunderstorm and thinking that although I'd got the ring, somehow I still had to persuade Jean to see me again. Then I had the first really disturbing thought. The trouble was that once the idea occurred to me, I just couldn't get it out of my mind. I timed my next visit to the shop so that the manager was serving. After all, he hadn't seen me before. Switching the rings was easy. The most unpleasant moment came when I put the phony ring back in the box. Would somebody in the business be able to tell the difference? I needn't have worried. The craftsman had produced a real work of art. I didn't bother to ring the doorbell of Jean's home. I simply put the carefully prepared package through the letterbox along with a very personal and contrite note. Then I waited. Two days passed. Three days, still no word. And then... Hello, Fred Jones.
Darling,
Jean, darling.
Fred, that fantastic ring. It was absolutely wonderful. And you know, I kept it for 2 whole days trying to decide. Anyway, that shop had another ring I liked even better, so I simply took yours back and asked them to change it. It was most curious. The man said they hadn't even sold that particular ring, and he looked at the one they had in stock through one of those funny little eyeglass things. Then he refused to give me my ring back, and he actually demanded your name and address. Well, I gave it to him all right and said he'd be hearing from our solicitor. He said not to worry, you'd be hearing from someone else at on site sooner.
Strange as it may seem, the real problem is that I'm far too honest. Too honest, that is, to be dishonest with Jean and give her a phony ring. Although I doubt if anyone else will see things quite that way. Signed, Fred Jones. Well, here you are, officer. Here's my statement.
Right, thank you, sir. If you just follow me, please.